So handing it over to Andy, who will be moderating our panel today. Andy, over to you to introduce the panelists and yourself before you do so.
Okay, yeah, good morning, everybody. Very glad to be here. My name's Andy Mulcahy. I'm Strategy and Insight Director for IMRG. IMRG is the trade association for online retail in the UK. So what we do is we benchmark lots of information from 200 retailers. We get the sales data, but also lots of performance stuff across the websites. So we know things like add to basket rates from the product page, checkout abandonment rates, return rates, click and collect, all this sort of stuff. And we have a whole program of data analysis that we do around that to try and understand what is good practice at various points of customer experience. So I'm very glad to be here today, and there's a few things I wanted to share with you up front about what we've been tracking since the outbreak began in the UK, at least in the middle of March. The first thing to let you know, which won't surprise you in the slightest, is that online has really boomed. So since April, we've been seeing growth rates that are week after week after week, growth rates we haven't seen since 2008. So 12-year highs, 30% plus every week. And just for comparison, normally what we would see week after week is an increase or a decrease of round about 10%. Within that range, you don't really go outside of that very much. And now it's just completely off the chart how big it is. That said, it's not completely across the board, so it's a different story by category. So if you look at electricals, doing fantastic, home and garden, beers, wines and spirits, beauty, gifts, basically every category that we track is doing fantastically well. Grocery, you probably know, but the two that have been really struggling is clothing and footwear, because we haven't been able to go out and do things. The demand just hasn't been there. So pretty tough time there. The second thing I wanted to make you aware of is that it's not the same growth between the multi-channel retailers and the online-only ones. So we track the online sales for lots and lots of retailers, and we get the multi-channel retailers. We just get their online sales. And for the online-only ones, throughout the outbreak, they've been getting growth rates of on average of between 10 to 15%, which is not too bad. But the multi-channel ones are more like 60 to 70%. So very, very strong growth for those retailers. The problem for them, of course, is that the reason they're getting that growth is because their shops are closed, which means that there's a massive part of their business that's just not taking any money. So the amazing growth they're getting online is obviously great, but I'm not sure it's quite making up for the loss that they're making, depending on how big their store estate is, of course. And since the shops reopened on the 15th of June, we haven't seen a decline in online growth. It's carried on being really strong, even for the multi-channel retailers. And then the final thing I wanted to bring up, just to set up the conversation today, is we're looking now at how this is going to settle into a pattern. So last week we got the figures in for the week commencing the 5th of July, which was when some other stuff opened, so the pubs and the restaurants, and you could go on holiday and theme parks and all that sort of thing. So the reason that's significant is it means people have got more things to spend money on. And what we've seen so far, with only 1 week's data since it came in, there was a bit of a drop in the amount spent week on week. So the growth was still very good. It was still 33%, something like that. For that week, but the amount spent compared to the week previous had dropped by about 10%. So now what we're trying to work out is what sort of pattern is this going to settle into? And to help me answer those questions, I have 3 guests with me today. Whether shopping is going to be the same again. So just before we get into a conversation about that, I'm just going to hand over to Anais quickly. He's got a few slides of information just to set up the conversation. Anais, over to you.
Well, yes, this discussion that we're having today was an opportunity to share some stats and some figures with everyone, because the lockdown has been a tough bit to handle for a lot of retailers. But what we've seen is that while online has been surging, Andy, maybe you should go on. I'll comment on one of the slides that you're showing, and this one is interesting because at the end of the day, whether it's a pandemic, a lockdown, post-pandemic, we're recovering from the situation. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the consumer. And Proximis has been conducting a survey with Forrester last year, and some of the stats are illustrated here. And it shows two things. The first one, that consumers are expecting extensive information about the products, whether they're in store or online, on all the digital touch points they are interacting with. And the second important element is that delivery methods should be clear. And I think that since, and you rightly said so, Andy, online has been largely increasing and thriving during this lockdown, it's even more important for retailers to meet the requirements and expectations of customers equally on product information and on delivery methods. Indicators that you can see here just prove that it has been successful, because based on our experience, at least in the projects on which we have been working with our clients, the stats are very interesting. There have been new online visitors up to 90% for our clients during the lockdown, and the figures are still up even if the shops have reopened. And we also see that hybrid customer journeys are largely becoming the trend. And even if a lot of consumers have got acquainted to the convenience of digital, some still prefer to go in stores. And that's why click and collect services, drive and go, walk and go services have been increasingly popular.
I think the challenge over the last few months is really all, putting safety and things like that to one side. What are the challenges for us is COVID has really just accelerated trends that we have seen in the marketplace over the last few years. So, retailers are trying to come to terms with, the increasing aspect of online, but equally, what do they do with their store estate? And ultimately, for us, as you'll hear, it is all about the customer, but beneath the customer, in terms of generating their confidence, we're going to build the confidence when we see, their needs being satisfied. And for us, what we've seen is very clear that you've got retailers that are in survival mode, literally lockdown, examining their business models, and then those that are thriving and doing extremely well. But the essence of it is doing the operational things well. And that is where the operational basics of, having your product, available wherever it is, online, in store, and satisfying that customer need is absolutely critical. So my viewpoint at this moment in time is, mediocrity could have got you through, in the normal world. Now you've absolutely got to nail all your operational aspects, and they are basic things like product information, as you said, inventory information, order management, making it as easy as possible, because in this environment, it's so much easier to lose sales because people, are much more constrained about how they're going to go about their retailing activities.
So, Adam, and Friedrich Nietzsche kind of analysis there, where mediocrity can't be the thing anymore. To what extent, though, are things going to just carry on the way they are? So, what you're saying there is we need to do things really well, which we kind of knew before, but we never really seemed to get around to. But to what extent is it actually is shopper behaviour going to really change, and it is going to drive that faster?
Well, I think in terms of shopping behaviour, yes, we see that there are more activities online, and different segments of the customer base are moving to digital channels, etc. However, ultimately, you've still got to look at the customer need and how well you are satisfying that. And the biggest thing that I've seen across the board is that funds are very, very tight. So in terms of making changes, retailers are looking for the quick wins, as well as a parallel set of activities around their business model. So either way, yes, you've got to be very focused and prioritized on what is it that you can do to improve that customer experience. And you know, for us, you know, we're not marketeers. So what we focus on is, you know, are you displaying all the right information about the products in terms of their availability, in terms of all the specifications, in the right places at the right time? And then secondly, how well do you know your customer? You know, and it's those aspects that are going to be key.
Okay, Sarah, let me bring you in then. I mean, are those the sort of things that you're thinking about? What do you think is going to happen?
Absolutely. So as a retailer, the first and foremost question you have to stop and ask yourself is, who is my customer and what's important to them? And what has changed here is shopper mindset. There are different mindsets that will influence people's purchasing habits and what they're comfortable to do. So you could look at, for example, that those that are hibernating, they're not ready yet to make the move back into the high street. Maybe they're vulnerable, maybe they're shielding, but actually they're really very much looking for the experience online that they could possibly have got in store. You've got those who are taking the tentative first steps. They want to get back to shopping in a hybrid way that they're really familiar with, but they're actually testing the water, and they need to be reassured that the safety measures are in place, but not only the safety measures from a physical point of view, but from an operational point of view. They need to feel secure that this is not being paid lip service, that the brand that they're shopping with, they can trust. And then there are there's the category who are quite carefree, actually. They're perhaps not, they're less vulnerable, they're ready to get back out there, and they have a slightly different set of needs. So all retailers need to address the safety concerns first to win back the trust and confidence, or indeed accelerate that, because a lot of brands have managed that brilliantly. And then they need to make this a pleasurable and engaging experience for the customer. And remember, those that are still shopping predominantly online may not be the customer segment who would have chosen to shop online. So they may be the least tech savvy, and they're the ones that are really looking for the hand holding, the experience that you would maybe get from a face-to-face advisor, a good sales advisor in a store, a good customer advisor there to help you, to personalize their recommendation, to give advice. They're looking for some of that in a digital experience. And what retailers need to do is to not worry about the different channels. Actually, they are touch points, and customers will engage with their brand however they feel is the most convenient for them, given their set of circumstances. But what we do need to do is to dial up the customer experience and walk in the customer's shoes so that we can resonate with them. And that's what will win the confidence and empower the customer to make the purchase decisions.
Altogether, online is an opportunity for retailers to get closer to their customers, and an opportunity also to bring additional convenience to make their purchasing journeys, buying journeys, shopping journeys as painless as possible, for them to get the satisfaction of getting their products.
And that actually brings us fairly nicely onto our next question, actually, which is looking at whether online is going to replace offline, or we're going to get these hybrid journeys. Again, it's the sort of thing that we've been talking about for a very, very long time.
In the eyes of the customer, it's all about one single brand, and whenever the customer is dealing either with the website or the stores, he has the feeling, I mean, it's all about the same brand. So there needs to be consistency both of the online channel and the stores where they're going to meet their brands. And those stats are come from a report that has been done with the IMRG, actually, with Proximis and the IMRG. And it's interesting because it clearly illustrates that in order to build trust with the customer, consistency is important on every channel, every touch point. And as the world is going towards this hybrid trend of purchasing journeys, it's something that retailers should bear in mind to a large extent, because if consumers are, and I'd be happy to hear your thoughts about that, are getting a different experience in the stores, or a different experience online, you know, if they're able to have a sales associate giving them information about a product in a store and not able to get that kind of support online, then the offline audience that's shopping online today might be disappointed. And the other case is also, you know, applicable, because if I go online and I'm buying a product, I'm looking for information, and I'm not able to see where the product is available in the stores nearby, I'm likely to be frustrated in this hybrid multiple channel journey that I now have as a customer.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel, building on that, Andy, I think you spoke at the start about the various categories of retail, and I think in some respects, whilst you know we've absolutely got the customer at the heart of this, you've got to think of the categories that they're shopping into, you know, the essentials, the commoditized area versus the experiential area. And I think, you know, I always remember Justin King when I was at a seminar saying, you know, at the moment it's about 15% of all retail happens online, 85% goes on in stores. I suspect COVID is probably going to force that up to maybe, you know, 35-40% will go online ultimately, and then that number in stores will come down. At the moment it's just flex, but over time that shift. And so therefore for us, it's all about driving innovation that says, are you going to have guided selling? You know, are you going to be booking appointments, things like this, that sort of addresses a virtual way in the short term of trying to give that experience, if it's required for that category, in the challenging times that are upon us. So that for me is the innovation, and the acceleration of innovation in the last 4 months has been the critical, you know, observation from my perspective.
Sarah, Adam mentioned there about guided selling, which is kind of right into your sort of sweet spot there, isn't it? I mean, what are you kind of seeing in that area, and why would people find that useful to be guided through something?
Absolutely. So if shopping is about replenishment and you know what you want, it's about speed and convenience. A lot of shopping is about not knowing what you want and having to choose what's right for you, or right for your family, or right to service a need, or right to fix a problem. And that is the element that's missing with a lot of online journeys. So a guided sale is about saying, well, what does the best customer advisor do in terms of understanding your needs and making a personalized recommendation that empowers you to make the right choice? Well, how can you bring that online in a conversational UI type of way, in a very simple way that then empowers the customer to make a purchase decision? And in the same way, that's reassuring them that they're making the right decision for them. It's reducing returns for the retailer. It's more sustainable for the environment. And it gives the retailer a voice to engage with the customer and be a brand ambassador, if you like. All those wonderful key messages that go into creating these retail brands can be lost when you look at a product catalogue on page. And I think it's all about understanding the impact analysis of, you know, what is it that physical retail shop gives a customer, and what does the online experience give the customer, and where are the gaps? Where's the gap analysis, and how can we fill those? And by bringing the store experience, the consultation online in a natural, friendly, helpful way, that goes a long way to address that gap analysis between the store and online. And equally, understanding that online is about fulfillment, it's quick, it's convenient, it's easy. How do we align our store operations to make sure that click and collect is really seamless and quick, and gives the customer the opportunity to link, sell and upsell as well? So it's about understanding the gap analysis between touch points and bringing the best of those together and using tech enablers to help.
Now, that's a very interesting point, because what this data doesn't actually tell you is if you were to break that down into age categories, what you actually find is the 18% there that said we think that the high street store and the website are different companies. It's the younger demographics who actually thought that it was different, so it was much higher for the younger demographics. Now they might think that's slightly surprising why that is, but I think it is because of this stock. So if you think about going into a store, there's a certain amount of stock that's available there. If you look online, they've probably got a larger catalogue there that you can access. So in a way, they do seem like sort of disparate things, and maybe that is kind of testament to the fact that I haven't quite got this kind of hybrid thing right yet.
Any business that isn't offering click and collect is not keeping pace today with customers changing habits and new patterns of buying behavior. And again, those stats are coming from this report that we've been doing with the IMRG, because having a network of physical stores is giving possibilities, at least to online retailers today, to offer additional services to better cater for the needs and requirements of the customers.
Yeah, I think we've. Sorry, Andy. I think we've seen that, haven't we, in terms of this mix between online and the store estate. Yes, we absolutely know that the store estate brings huge benefits to the customer experience. Because if the store wasn't there, we've seen the disproportionate drop on online sales. What the challenge at the moment is, I think retailers are trying to understand that balance. And whilst they may have known that balance and we're moving towards it in the next, say, 2 or 3 years, they've had to accelerate that and make pretty demanding calls, business-changing calls on which stores they feel can add that additional value to the customer experience. So that's what we're seeing in the UK market, isn't it?
Mm.
I think with click and collect specifically on this bit of data speaks to, before COVID kind of broke out, I mean, this is something that we do track, and click and collect was very popular. People still have a massive preference for home delivery, it's true, but it does offer something very useful, click and collect. It's certainly a very useful facility to have. COVID, of course, has completely exploded that. So stores were closed, no one could pick anything up. Do you want to go into a store to pick something up, bearing in mind you're at home and you get the thing sent to you? A lot of parcel stores were closed as well, so they weren't able to do those. The ones that were open obviously got less footfall. The locker network, it kind of gets promoted as being touch-free, but it's not. So what kind of future does click and collect have? If you were looking at the trend lines leading into this, you'd say click and collect, brilliant, what a great thing to have. Is this an example of something that maybe that's now in for a bit of a rough ride? Sarah, you got any?
I think I think there's a correlation between, whether you're out and you're at work and you're not going to be at home to accept a delivery, and you may miss a delivery and have to make a special journey to a depot. During lockdown, everybody was at home, so clearly click to collect really wasn't an option anyway. It's going to be down to convenience. Again, it's going to be what suits best, the customer and their day and what's relevant to them in the moment. One of the biggest challenges that retailers have when everybody moves online is they actually see a reduction in the amount of money they're spending. So their average transaction values drop and their order values drop, and people are more specific and focused with what they're purchasing, and they're thinking about the delivery, they're thinking about the size, they're thinking about buying just what they need. When you're in the store and you have the sensory experience, you can see and feel and touch, and you can be tempted by other items, your basket size is far, far greater. And so what I think we'll find is, I think it will shift back slightly as people return to work and return to having busier lives, because it will be more convenient for them to collect as well as have deliveries. And that will then present retailers with the opportunity to say, well, to what extent am I tempting this customer to purchase something else that's maybe relevant to what they've bought here? To what extent can I help link sell here or cross-sell into other categories? To what extent, when I remind them that their order is ready for collection, do I present offers that are relevant to them? And a lot of the real-time relevant insight that you get from an online purchase, I think, could be utilised better at the point of collection for retail, and that will help retailers get a greater return on investment. But I genuinely think click to collect will start to increase again as people's lives become a little bit busier.
Yeah, I think one of the problems actually has been with click and collect is that I don't think people properly understand how vast and how convenient the network can be for you. I think plus they've got 40,000 pickup points across the UK, so news agents, petrol stations, train stations, all this type of thing. You know, if you really tried, you could more or less pick up a parcel absolutely anywhere, completely and utterly at your convenience. But I'm not sure people really understand that network is really there. Maybe something to hold it back a little bit.
I agree, and just to Andy, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to add something on that because that's a very relevant point regarding optimizing the network of stores. Because in addition to offering more convenience to the customer, retailers would be able to connect to their customers. And by sharing the data, that they have online with the stores, more opportunities would be generated for the retailers, as illustrated by the stats, upsell possibilities as they get to feel the products, to see the products, getting immersed in the environment of the brand. That would not only bring convenience, but more opportunities to retailers to generate revenue and to make sales and enhance, their business operations.
And just coming in there, I think this is one of the key challenges, is that whilst sometimes it's easy for us to talk about these things around the online experience and the in-store experience, there's a multitude of retailers out there with a huge, cobweb legacy estate that means it's very, very difficult to actually bring these simple concepts to life. And I was having a conversation with the one fashion brand and the innovation around booking appointments, because you were queuing outside, and then we were discussing appointment booking. And then he said, well, can you link conversion to appointments? Because if I'm getting increased conversion, greater basket sizes, blah, 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 from people booking appointments, I might give more appointments to people in these troubled times. And then you sort of think, you know what? Yes, you can, but I don't know from this conversation the complexity of your estate, and that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. One of the reasons, speaking with Proximis, is some of the tools they have means that a lot of retailers could potentially make some quick wins without interfering with their existing IT estates. So it's a win-win. The business gets the upsell and the greater insight. The IT community doesn't panic and think someone's interfering and going to cause chaos with my existing operation. So this balance between the two of it's simple to say but sometimes difficult to actually achieve is an interesting one that people have been trying to come to terms with.
Yeah, okay. Look at here is long-term consequences of lockdown for retailers. I have a few thoughts on this, but Anais, do you want to talk us through some of this?
Well, yeah, sure. It's a good transition to what Adam just said, because when we talk about click and collect, when we talk about hybrid customer journeys, it's clear that Proximis has experience on those topics, and we help our clients every day tackle this very crucial and highly strategic topic with a technology that allows them to do so. And here I'm just sharing a few key performance indicators that have been gathered during the lockdown, whereby while the stores were closed for non-essential stores, our clients in fashion and apparel and the toys industry were able to offer additional services to their customers. Courier was slower as post offices needed to respect sanitary measures, you know, and even Amazon was slower for deliveries. And our clients with store networks were able to deliver quickly the products that were ordered online to their customers, working for you.
Yeah, so the thing is, when we talk about the long-term consequences, it's sometimes difficult when you're in the middle of the sort of hurricane to look ahead and see what's going to go on. But you know, what do you think those long-lasting things will be? I mean, is it that things will broadly go back to where they were, and the things that we were trying to get right, such as providing a seamless purchasing journey, etc., they're still the things that you're trying to do, and you don't really need to change your goals so much? Adam?
I think, you know, we're probably reiterating the phrase over and over again of choice, and making sure you're giving the consumer, you know, every choice that they so desire in terms of satisfying their need. I think will it go back? I mean, for us, you know, we look after the supply chain and warehousing and replenishment for Tesco. You know, they had 400,000 delivery slots, which they converted to 800,000 in the matter of 4 weeks. So, you know, that's never going to go back, because, you know, the demand and uplift has been changed. So there are some fundamental, you know, sort of paradigm shifts about what has gone on in these last few months that means things will not be the same. Now, there's an interesting conversation that says, you know, is that profitable? We all know that, you know, home delivery is a challenge in terms of, you know, the profitability. But having made that change, having had all that availability, then you sort of say, right, fantastic. Now we can satisfy more customers who have that choice and desire to engage with us in that way. And I think it is going to be a case of things will return, but there will be some fundamental changes. And I still believe the mix between the physical and the online is something that the retailers, you know, that I'm speaking with are absolutely in the middle of addressing. And you know, we can't get away from the commercial consequences of COVID. You know, a lot of us who've been in retail for a long time know that next year's investment pot is based on peak trading at Christmas. You know, and if that means, you know, for some, they've had a situation where, you know, you take Tesco, it's been double peak trading, but some retailers, they're not going to have, or they've been starved of a peak trading opportunity. And that's where, you know, the consequences will be, what will Black Friday and peak trading Christmas look like? Because that's going to impact a lot of what retailers do next.
Yeah, very, very good question. So Sarah, I'll give you the choice of questions to tackle there. If you're brave enough to tackle Christmas and Black Friday, go for it. Otherwise, tackle the long-term consequences.
I'll tackle both. So yes, it's really tough out there. Investment decisions have to be made carefully. A long-term, cumbersome, slow IT roadmap isn't really going to help anybody at all, you know. So building on something Adam said earlier, what people have to do is to spend wisely in tech enablers that are easy to plug into current infrastructure and that deliver a real return on investment quickly through delighting the customer. So we're seeing 5- and 6-fold increases in conversion rate for those customers who are going through a guided sale versus those that just shop on the e-commerce platform. So we know there's a whole segment of customers out there that could be supported to make purchase decisions. So I think there's an investment decision in these tech tools that will really help retailers. I think that if you go back to the customer and their mindset, people will think and shop and plan earlier for Christmas. So gifting, for example, will be very important, and getting those wish lists together and getting those circulated, that will be something. There'll be a change there. People will always want a good deal, whether that's Black Friday or the month that Black Friday it falls within, as we've seen it shift from 1 day to 3 days to a week to a fortnight. So people will want value, and retailers can only deliver those brilliant deals if they have a lean operating model that supports both the customers that want the help and support and advice in store and those online, and because it's one journey, it's one brand, it's just a number of different touch points. That's what we've got to keep reminding ourselves of. And remember, we've been trading as human beings since we were cavemen. Shopping is important, it's in our DNA, and we will find a way to shop as a customer, and the best retailers will be agile and resilient and will adapt quickly. And we're quite good at thinking on our feet, retailers, and it is tough out there, but everybody, I think, has been planning longer term for reducing their costs and their operating model, and what COVID has done is accelerated that. And we're seeing that at the moment, that some of those difficult decisions about closing stores and reducing space and optimizing the experience, they've been on the roadmap for a while. It's just they've been brought forward because of the current circumstances.
Yeah, and to the point about, go on, Adam, sorry.
No, I completely agree. I think it's every conversation is, I need something in 4 weeks. If it's longer than 4 to 6 weeks in terms of a solution that you can provide to us, you know, I just can't focus on it, you know, and that's why some of these, you know, innovative solutions again are the ones that are less intrusive and gives everyone that sort of trust and confidence that they can make a difference without being a burden.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree, because there's no time to lose, really. I think retailers can't afford to wait any more time, and resilience are keywords to bear in mind. Lean manner is another keyword. Agility is crucial when it comes to digital transformation, and I think that as they're planning Christmas and Black Friday, if it's actually happening, those very interestingly, during the lockdown, our clients have been having activities higher than Black Fridays, because those offering that level of convenience were able to deliver. And since customers were happy about the service delivered, they were buying from them. And I think that the bar should be raised higher in terms of convenience, experience that retailers are giving on their channels to increase their opportunities of generating revenue online, and also ensure that they can make the maximum of the business possibilities that Christmas and those peak seasons are going to bring. I've been speaking to some retailers in jewelry that are getting ready for Diwali, and that's also a very important period for them in November. And we are already in summer. They don't have time to run an RFP. They don't have time to go for a market consultation, and they want to be able to deliver that level of promise and that convenience before November, to make sure that they're not missing out on all the sales opportunities, because if they do, that could be put them in high danger next year and in the years to come. And I think that retailers are smart, and they're looking at solutions that are able to make them progress quickly and achieve the results that are sought after. But for that, they need to challenge the way things are generally done, and be faster in making the decisions, and be bold in this digital transformation to make the right choices at the right time.
Sorry about that, but thanks very much for joining us today, and thanks to Sarah, Anna, and Adam. And our address is there, so if you wanted to follow up with anything, then please do. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.